Claude Code stayed in its lane and only worked on the branches that I gave it, that I told it about. I said, all of your branches have -Claude in them.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the DevOps Roundup. Today we're going to talk about Claude Code and really determine, is it better than anti-gravity?
Oh, I'm not sure we'll come to that conclusion yet, but we can speculate.
You can speculate.
So hi everyone, welcome to DevOps Roundup. I'm Sean and my co-host Alex. And I've been using anti-gravity for a while. Alex has been
3 months now, right? Feels like it.
I would say it feels like 3 months that I've been on anti-gravity. And I decided this weekend that I'm going to start using Claude instead of anti-gravity. And today I launched it.
Today was that day.
today was that day. This morning I downloaded Claude Code and paid for the account and started doing some of my work in Claude. However, I didn't stop doing work in anti-gravity. And so I'm running them both in parallel and telling them I have a roadmap file for the app that I'm working on. And I have one doing the even number roadmaps and one doing the odd number roadmaps. And I've had some interesting interactions with mainly Claude Code. And I think some of it is me becoming familiar with Claude after being, used to anti-gravity for a while. I think the best thing that I did with Claude is I found the dark mode. And once I turned the dark mode on, I felt a lot more comfortable with Claude than I was.
And to be clear for everybody watching this, right? First, subscribe to the channel. 2, drop a like. But 3, we are pitting and kind of conversing about anti-gravity from Google.
Yeah. And
Claude Code from Anthropic. Right? But we're kind of really clawing into the vibe coding tools and offerings that basically write code. So we're not comparing like Gemini versus Claude in a chat type of model. We're literally looking at it. Can it build something proactively from a coding perspective?
Yeah, I dropped right down to the code producing part of Claude and bypassed chat and all that other stuff. And that's when I immediately found out that it's not available in the free version, and you have to go up.
Be on a paid, yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I initially first leaned towards anti-gravity, because it is included if you have a Google Workspace, which many companies do if they're not on the Microsoft Copilot side. But if you're a Google shop, you already do have a Google or a Workspace subscription, which then gives you access to Gemini Pro, which then also gives you access to anti-gravity. So that's the only reason I went down that route at the beginning, because I already had a paid version.
Yeah, same here. And then I quickly ran out of credits or tokens, and so I went up to the next tier. And mainly the reason why I didn't jump on Claude Code is because the anti-gravity, I already had a path to use it. And then I paid for it. So I didn't really want to be paying for 2 at the same time. But now I'm doing so much with vibe coding that I'm like, okay, let me compare the 2. And plus I wanted to do it for our podcast as well. And so I took the plunge today.
Yeah. So again, if you're watching this, folks, subscribe so we can get to that monetization.
Yes, to help pay for all this stuff.
All right. But, so what's the biggest difference? What is your first knee-jerk whoa kind of moment? What was that look like?
I would say that it's the configuration. It's two things. Claude Code was clearly written by someone that prefers the Mac UI than Windows UI.
If I recall correctly, I just listened to an interview this morning. The creator of Claude Code is also the creator of TypeScript.
Oh, I like TypeScript.
So it's a very technical, very, very well-known individual in the software development community.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll have to forward you that interview.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out where the hell the settings were. for Claude Code, because it's not in an obvious place like most Mac UIs. Nothing's is where you would expect it to be. But once I finally found the settings and turned on dark mode, I was much more comfortable with Claude Code. It was just with all my other settings being dark mode, all my other windows, jumping between my editors, web browsers, and anti-gravity into Claude was shocking until I got the dark mode on. But the main difference is it seemed to really understand my environment quicker than anti-gravity did. So it understood that I was using GitLab for all my issues and version control and pipelines and all that, and it did a better job understanding that. It may have had some help because anti-gravity learned it the hard way, and I pointed it at my Git repositories. The first thing I did with Claude is like, there's a Git repository at this address. There's a these are the applications in it. I want you to go understand this and then report back to me what you think we're doing. And it did that very well. However, anti-gravity built up a rules file that it read, so it could have been just that.
But here's an interesting observation: isn't anti-gravity? You have the Gemini models, but you also have the Claude models.
True, yeah. So I don't think I've gotten to the point where I can say a particular model works better for a particular AI IDE.
Right. All right, so you're paying for it. It seems a little bit better. What is it doing that's significantly better than that you're seeing results that, because you're obviously paying for it, right? So
yeah.
I guess the question I'm trying to ask you is, will you continue to pay for it, or will you fall back to anti-gravity?
Yeah, I don't think I have that. I don't think I have enough information to.
Not yet.
Yet, I think it's going to take me more than a day to determine I could trash one of the two.
So our buddy Josh, who happens to be one of our partners and business partners,
for another company,
he's on the $100 plan on Claude, specifically Claude Code, and he was sharing with me today that he's basically getting to the limits of that one.
What's he doing with it though?
So he's orchestrating he's basically running his entire business with Claude Code right now.
Okay.
So he's got an agent. So it's a lot of agents. He's building a ton of agents, and he's got agents that are on top of agents with more agents doing more agent work.
Okay, that doesn't necessarily describe anything, though. What's
it doesn't. Well, I'm trying not to be too specific with what he told me, but essentially he's got this he's got an agent that basically looks at every Slack email, at every Slack message, every email, every text, everything that comes all the noises that come his way, reads through them all and finds out if there's anything that needs, that he committed to, that he promised somebody, I'm going to get this to you by Thursday, I'm going to get this to you tomorrow, right? It's just looking to see, is there anything I owe people today?
Okay.
So that's one agent. Then he's got another agent that kind of looks through his prioritized or through his list.
So we should be flooding the Slack channels with, "Hey, Josh, you promised to do this and that," and see what happens with his agents.
So interestingly enough, so the agent part for the token execution, he was telling me he's spending between $100 to $200 a day.
Okay, that seems high.
Yeah, and then he's got the agents now working with his Claude Code, so he gave them access to his Claude Code Pro, or the $100 version, so that they can then develop stuff for him as they figure out, the agents themselves figure out what needs to be optimized and developed. And so he gave him access to that as well. So they're building software based on they're identifying gaps in his company and his processes all agentically. And then they're like, oh, well, it would be cool if we had this software solution. So then they go off as a group of agents and then build, using Claude Code, a software solution for that.
So I like Josh, and I don't want to call him out, but I call bullshit. I don't think he's done that.
That's what he was describing to me today. And it was a very...
I don't doubt that's what he's described. I very much doubt that he has anything that is working.
That's sophisticated. He said he was getting ready to demo and that it would be ready within the next week or so. So you may be pleasantly surprised within the next week or so.
I hope I am, but it does not pass the bullshit.
Yeah. So one thing that he's also gotten built is like a video editor to edit all his videos.
Okay.
So he's got that built out. So he said he's gonna give me a demo once he's got it all built out. But this is an individual that's like leaning very heavily into all the AI, and he's put the eggs in the Claude Code basket.
So that does bring up a point that I haven't completely explored, but Claude Code has a lot of plugins that on the surface say they do a lot of things. Anti-gravity, not so much. I don't really see a lot of plugins to anti-gravity to run by business, to handle marketing tasks and things like that, where Claude Code has a module. I'm not sure if they call them modules or plugins or what they're calling them.
Yeah.
And I enabled the majority of them. And so I figured out, I'll just click on enable for all of these and I'll figure them out later. And what I was expecting to happen is if any of them required an API key to some other tool, that it would prompt me that, hey, this requires, you to connect to, via an account with an API access or something like that. And none of that happened. So if that is necessary, I would expect that when I try to use it, it would walk me through that.
So you're just going to let all this stuff go until smoke starts coming out of your computer.
Yeah. Well, it almost did today because I have these things working originally out of the same Git repo, which I realized was a mistake almost immediately because I told them to work on separate branches, but I had them working out of the exact same Git repo. And so each agent is changing the branch on the other agent. And as soon as I realized that, I'm like, okay, I need to give you your separate Git repo. It's the same repo, but it's a different clone of the repo. And then once I separated I put them in their own corners. Then I didn't have that much of conflict. Claude Code stayed in its lane and only worked on the branches that I gave it. That I told it about. I said, all of your branches have -Claude in the name. Those are the ones that you can create and you can work on. In anti-gravity, I said, you all have -AG in your branch names, and those are the only ones that you can work to. And all merges to main or to master have to have a merge request. And Claude followed that without having to be reminded. I had to constantly remind anti-gravity. You're breaking the rules. You're not creating the branch names correctly, or you jumped onto one of Claude's branches. What are you doing on Claude's branch?
It's rewarding to see that because I sent you a link to Boris Cherny here, right? The creator of Claude Code. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he was describing in that interview about halfway through is that at Anthropic, the entire, I might be misspeaking, but it sounded like the entire SDLC is handled by agents.
Yeah.
Like Anthropic is hands off.
Yeah, I'm almost there. So basically, my agents are working with GitLab directly. And almost everything that's SLDC related is in GitLab. I was using Jira and Confluence, and then I abandoned them. And I'm like, there's really no need. I'll just do everything in GitLab issues and GitLab pages and go that way. But I originally had it set up so it would put all the plans in Jira and break it up into the different work items and stuff like that, and move things through the workflow. And I abandoned that. I'm like, I'm not even looking at Jira to see what's going on. I'm always in GitLab to look at the pipeline, so I might as well look at the issues in GitLab instead of using Jira. But yeah, I'm pretty much at the point where the entire SDLC is being handled by agents. It's still using GitLab for everything, but I'm not interfacing with GitLab other than to go look at pipelines to see if things are finished or not. And Claude Code actually tells you the status of the pipeline. I've told Anti-Gravity to monitor the pipeline if there's any errors to self-heal them. And it does that pretty well, but every so often it forgets to actually push to master, or commit and then push to master, or the original, whatever, or origin. So I have to remind it, but it doesn't tell me where in the stage the pipeline is. But Claude Code, every time it passes a stage, it prompts you that, hey, we're now in, unit test, or we're now in deploy, or we're now in verify. And it does the self-healing just as well as anti-gravity does. But it's nice that I don't have to jump into GitLab. I can just sit in Claude Code and it tells me where we are in the pipeline, or if we're running multiple pipelines off different branches.
So I know it's still a little early to tell though, but would you feel like you'd be getting closer to maybe the $100 model and seeing what it can do?
I don't know. So one of the nice things about Claude Code is it has a running counter on how many tokens you're using. However, every time it starts another task, it starts off at 0 again. So you don't know how much you're used on that particular session. There is a drill down that you can look at that gives you your daily totals, and apparently there's a 4-hour quota that refreshes every 4 hours, that you can only use so many tokens in a 4-hour window.
Have you exceeded that at all?
No. As we've been talking, it's been doing another feature for me, and it hasn't prompted me for any permissions. So I'm
for more money.
Or for more money.
Hasn't asked you to feed the meter yet?
Actually, it is. It's waiting for me to okay a command. So
you gotta feed the meter, man. Feed the meter.
Yeah, but I've in this 51-minute session, I've used 94,000 tokens. So that sounds like a lot, but a token's not equal to $1. Thank God.
Thankfully.
Because that would mean I just spent $91,000 on adding a minor feature to my application. At that point, I should just hire a bunch of interns to write code for me.
Yeah, and let's kind of close up with that in mind. How do you see, given your 30 years of experience in the software space, how seeing what Claude Code can do and a little bit of what anti-gravity can do, where do you think this market's going to go then with respect to the software engineers?
Yeah,
because we're obviously not writing code. Like, it would be silly to write code by hand.
Yeah, I'm not writing code, and I don't think I would have gotten this far with this particular project if it wasn't for vibe coding. This is stuff that I started down the path 20 years ago with a bunch of Perl scripts to do this particular task. And similar to what Josh is saying, I am writing this to get insights into sales and marketing for my company. But I don't expect it to actually be running anything. I expect it to be giving the intelligence to the actual employees that are doing sales and marketing to help guide them. But
had you hired a bunch of interns to build this out, they wouldn't.
No, I would not.
They probably wouldn't have been able to even build it over a summer.
No, I don't think they would have, and I probably wouldn't have been happy with it. I would have.
And to be truthful, hiring a bunch of interns to do this for the summer would have been the cheapest option. Yeah,
hiring like a real dev team or even overseas team, I wouldn't have gotten as far as I have. And so I've been playing with anti-gravity for roughly 3 months. But I haven't seriously put any time into creating the application that I have over the last week and a half, until just this last week and a half. And I would say I'm pretty much to a full-fledged product that if I really wanted to productize this, it would probably be another week, and then I could probably sell this product. I don't have intentions of doing that. I want to use it for internal use only. But I could most likely turn around and start creating products for sale with this. So to go back to your question on where does this send us as software developers? One, I've never really considered myself a full-blown software developer. I've always been an enabler.
Would you call yourself a software developer now?
No, I wouldn't.
What would you call yourself then?
I would still say instigator and troublemaker, but
what did you call yourself? A troublemaker?
Instigator and troublemaker, yeah. But
do you ever remember Ray Foote?
Yeah, I met her briefly, and then she almost immediately left the champion program for a
Yeah, right. But she had her tagline, "Menace to Society."
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and I that those words have always resonated with me. So I kind of feel like you're a menace to something.
I'm definitely a menace to something. I've been called worse, but yeah, I don't see this hurting software development. I know that we in previous episodes have been more doom and gloom, and there's no future to software development or computer science, and we really shouldn't be encouraging people going into STEM. But I think this is just another tool. Did we get rid of the mathematicians when we invented the calculator?
Probably not.
No.
But okay, would you hire a software engineer that didn't know how to vibe code there or use these tools?
No, I would not.
So you wouldn't favor somebody who can do this, by hand?
Well, no, that I don't think those are mutually exclusive.
They might be for a Department of War employee.
Yeah. I would not hire a software developer that has not dabbled in AI. So I think it's been around long enough that I've dabbled with it. So therefore, any software developer is actually worth something should have, explored these.
New question. Would you hire a software engineer, or would you continue to hack this together yourself?
I would continue to hack this together myself. But I would assume that if I gave this task to a real software engineer and told them it's perfectly okay to use these tools, that they would hack together something better than what I could hack with.
But so you don't think that because you understand the requirement the best, because this is something that's in your head, that you can't do a better job than somebody who's
so that's a different question. That's a different question. I think I can do a better job at explaining what I want. There's no telephone game between me and a software developer to spit out the requirements and then make sure they understand them. I'm talking directly to the vibe coding machine. Now, it often doesn't get it right. I usually blame my lack of being able to explain the requirements as the problem. But 2 or 3 minutes later, we fixed that, and it's developing what I want, or it developed something not quite what I was expecting, but something that I liked better than what I was expecting. But that's a different question on whether or not does this kill software development? I don't think it does, and I think people that understand the processes behind software development can do vibe coding a lot better than someone that doesn't understand the processes. So if you don't understand how to work with other software developers in a team, because basically that's what vibe coding is. You're working with a team, especially now that I have 2 vibe coding agents coding the same product.
And then a low price of $40 a month.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm paying 17 for one, and who knows what, for the other, because I can't remember it was an upcharge to my Google workspaces.
And so it's only for your workspace or for all of your company's workspace?
I did it for the entire company.
So I should be using my release team email?
You probably should. But it was a one-time upcharge. I paid it for the year. I don't remember it being all that high. I think it was like maybe a maybe $300 upcharge for the entire.
It wasn't that same bill that you got back in February when we were in DC.
Oh, right? No, that was a scary bill. was like a $3,000 bill while we were traveling, and like, what the hell is this? And it turned out to be a fraudulent charge.
Did you ever hear that Josh got a $100,000 bill from Atlassian?
So yes, but you didn't tell the complete story. We started talking about it with Josh, and then we got sidetracked on a different story.
All right. Well, I'll wrap it up here so we can end up the episode. But long story short, he had a call with Atlassian, asked for something to be changed. The wires got crossed. They changed something else. They bumped up his user count, and then they gladly sent him $95,000 to his credit card, which his credit card gladly accepted and said, "Yes, we'll pay."
Auto pay. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
So that's when I'm going to start getting worried about this whole vibe coding experience, is once my credit card starts getting just charged randomly because I told it to build something, and now we're ordering.
Well, so far, it hasn't asked me for credit card information.
But the very first application that we built on this channel was ordering pizza to the Smithsonian, and all we needed to do was put the credit card. That so it would be very easy and innocent to order pizza to the Smithsonian every single day.
So, well, after I get a better opinion of Claude, I've only been using it for it's like 6 o'clock at night now. So I've been using it for a little over 8 hours today, and so far I don't dislike it, but I don't have enough knowledge to say it's better than Anthropic.
Yeah. Well, at this point, you're just gonna have to get Codex from OpenAI and put the three together.
I will. At that point, I might run one of them on a different computer instead of all three on one computer. So.
Yeah, and then the last thing that I asked Josh was the benefit of paying per month versus running something locally, and Josh says that the ROI just wasn't there.
I mostly agree with him, but I not to put Josh down, I don't know if he's got the engineering chomps behind him to really.
I hope Josh never sees these.
Yeah, he might, but he's more than welcome to prove himself to us. But yeah, so.
All right, folks. On that high note, hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and don't forget that we're just here for the snacks.
That's right. Bye, everyone.
That was a cue for your shirt.